Carrie-Anne Moss, Trinity, December 22nd, 2021. The Matrix Resurrections arrived 22 years after the first Matrix debuted on March 31st, 1999, and it changed sci-fi forever. Keanu Reeves returned as Neo, but the big upgrade was elevating Carrie-Anne Moss's Trinity from co-pilot to co-chosen one. By the finale, she's the one flying while Neo plays passenger. For some, it was a satisfying course correction. For others, it felt like a checkbox update and a franchise more interested in self-referential commentary than bullet time thrills. The marketing didn't scream girl power, but the script's pivot to make Neo and Trinity two halves of the one became a talking point. Some critics praised the equality.
My name is Trinity.
Detractors saw it as pseudo-progressive window dressing over a limp story. With a $190 million budget and a day-and-date HBO Max release, it grossed only $157 million worldwide, making it the lowest earning entry in the series and a likely 9-figure loss once marketing was factored in.
We both love these characters. It's so deeply moving for us.
Rotten Tomatoes landed at 63% with critics and audiences alike, and CinemaScore was a middling B-. Moss herself avoided controversy, giving thoughtful interviews about returning to action in her 50s. But even with the original duo back, fans and casual viewers mostly stayed jacked out. Supporters of the franchise were left wishing this ambitious, meta, Love Conquers All sequel had remembered how to actually thrill. Rachel Zegler in Snow White. On March 21st, 2025, Disney's iconic princess re-emerged, this time as a bold, independent heroine.
Never daring to disobey, so she's dreaming all alone.
Rachel Zegler's Snow White insisted she wouldn't be saved by the prince, anchoring the remake's feminist bent. But those revisions, coupled with her remark that the original Prince Charming literally stalks her, ignited fierce backlash. Speculation even swirled that her agent, Emily Hall, considered dropping her amid the PR firestorm. Though no termination was confirmed, the damage was palpable. Compounding that spin, Disney replaced the traditional 7 dwarfs with CGI magical creatures after consulting dwarfism advocate Peter Dinklage, who had publicly criticized the original's portrayal of the characters.
You'll be safe from the Queen here.
While the studio framed it as progressive, many performers in the dwarfism community saw it as an erasure and a lost opportunity for employment. With a budget reported between 240 and 270 million, the film pulled in only 205.7 million worldwide, a resounding commercial disappointment for a brand of this size. Rotten Tomatoes critics score hovered around 38%, while audience response was slightly higher but heavily polarized. Zegler's promotional interviews became the flashpoint. I mean, her comments and political stances turned a fairy tale into a culture war battleground. Even loyal Disney remake fans found themselves longing for more warmth or magic, not modernized controversy and fractured goodwill.
What do you think about her take as the evil queen?
She's terrifying.
Blake Lively, Stephanie Patrick. January 31st, 2020, marked the arrival of The Rhythm Section, a female-led spy thriller backed by James Bond producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. Blake Lively took on the role of Stephanie Patrick.
I need your help to find the ones who did this. I've got nothing to lose.
A grieving civilian whose family was killed in a plane bombing. Spiraling into addiction and sex work, she recruited and trained to become an assassin, pursuing those responsible across the globe. Lively's approach was deliberately unglamorous. Stephanie is clumsy in combat, struggles with weapons, and makes mistakes that put her in danger. While some critics praised this grounded take, many audiences used to the slick efficiency of Jason Bourne or James Bond found it frustrating. The tone was grim, and the lead's damaged, joyless demeanor offered little escapist appeal. Marketing avoided overt feminist slogans, selling it instead as a gritty, realistic spy film from the producers of James Bond. But even with that pedigree, it became one of the decade's starkest box office failures. On a budget of around $50 million, it grossed just $6 million worldwide, setting records for one of the lowest openings ever on more than 3,000 screens. Rotten Tomatoes critics scored it at 28%, audiences at 44%. Lively avoided any promotional missteps, but the film's reception was so cold that even supporters of female-led action admitted this was a missed opportunity.
Chases is great wide shots of cars spinning out, crashing, and the things that they're avoiding.
undone by sluggish pacing and a downbeat execution. Anya Taylor-Joy, Imperator Furiosa. May 24, 2024, saw George Miller return to the wasteland with Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, a prequel to 2015's Mad Max Fury Road.
Somebody that can fight as strong as he can.
Anya Taylor-Joy stepped into the role Charlize Theron made iconic, portraying a younger Imperator Furiosa's journey from abduction to hardened warrior. The film kept Furiosa's persona consistent with her Fury Road image, stoic, fiercely independent, and relentless in her fight against tyrants. Critics praised Taylor-Joy's physical commitment and the film's elaborate set pieces. Unlike other female-led spin-offs, it wasn't marketed with overt girl power messaging. The focus stayed on world building and action spectacle. This helped avoid culture war backlash, though some fans expressed mild skepticism over a Mad Max entry without Max himself. Despite strong reviews, hovering near 90% on Rotten Tomatoes and an A- cinema score, the numbers fell flat. With a production budget reported between 168 and 170 million, it grossed about 174 million worldwide, far short of the approximately 330 million often needed to break even after marketing. Industry estimates pegged losses between 50 to 100 million dollars.
Give me this promise.
No controversies emerged from Taylor-Joy's press appearances, and Charlize Theron publicly supported the recasting. For many fans and feminist film supporters, Furiosa became a bittersweet win, proof a female-led blockbuster could deliver creatively, but also a frustrating reminder that even critical acclaim doesn't guarantee box office survival. Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan, She Said. November 18th, 2022, She Said brought to the screen the true story of New York Times journalists Megan Twohey and Jodi Kantor, played by Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan.
I believe you used to work for Harvey Weinstein.
The film followed their investigation into Harvey Weinstein's history of sexual abuse, adapting the reporter's 2019 book and framing it in the tradition of investigative dramas like Spotlight. Mulligan and Kazan's portrayals emphasized diligence, empathy, and quiet determination, showing the painstaking process of persuading survivors to go on record. These values resonated with critics, but proved a tough sell for general audiences. Many viewers found the tone heavy, and the story too close to ongoing headlines to make for an appealing night at the movies.
Women walked into what they all had reason to believe.
The film's feminist message was inherent in its subject, about believing women and holding power to account. But marketing avoided sloganeering. There was no organized backlash. Instead, the obstacle was indifference and fatigue with the hashtag #MeToo themed content. Made for around $32 million, She Said grossed just $13.9 million worldwide, opening to a dismal $2.2 million in North America. Critics were favorable, within an 88% Rotten Tomatoes score, but audiences' turnout was minimal. Neither Mulligan nor Kazan stirred controversy and promotion, yet even supporters of female-led prestige films admitted disappointment. She Said was respected for its craft and integrity, but left little cultural or commercial footprint. Jessica Chastain, The 355. January 7th, 2022, marked the debut of The 355, a high-concept spy thriller pitched as a female-led answer to Bond and Mission Impossible.
They called her Agent 355 because they didn't want the world to know her real name.
Jessica Chastain starred as Mason Mace Brown, a CIA operative who teams up with agents from around the globe, played by Penelope Cruz, Diane Kruger, Lupita Nyong'o, and Fan Bingbing, to recover a stolen cyber weapon. The characters were presented as highly skilled, globe-trotting professionals, but critics argued the film was weighed down by a generic plot and uninspired action. The premise, an all-women spy team, was the hook in the marketing, yet the execution leaned heavily on cliches and from the very franchises it sought to compete with. While the story avoided overt political sloganeering, the female spy dream team branding placed it squarely in the conversation about Hollywood's gender-flipped blockbusters. That Spotlight, combined with middling reviews, that it had little room for error. The numbers told the story.
We put ourselves in danger so others aren't.
A reported $75 million budget, just $27.9 million worldwide, and one of the steepest losses of the year for Universal. Rotten Tomatoes critics scored it at 24%, though the audience score was far higher at 86%, suggesting a niche enjoyed it despite critical panning. Chastain and her co-stars kept their promotion controversy-free, but even supporters of female-led action films admitted the 355 wasted the potential of its talented cast on a formulaic and predictable spy movie. Ana de Armas, Ballerina, June 6, 2022. 2025 brought the John Wick universe its first spin-off feature, Ballerina.
You will always be weaker. You will always be smaller.
Ana de Armas took center stage as Rooney, a trained dancer turned assassin hunting the killers of her family. Set between the events of John Wick Chapter 3 and Chapter 4, it promised the same neon-lit gun-fu mayhem with a fresh face leading the charge. Rooney's persona matched the franchise DNA, silent focus, lethal precision, and a singular drive for revenge. While critics praised de Armas' physicality and screen presence, some fans of the mainline Wick films saw it as a side story they didn't need. The marketing leaned hard on franchise connections, even bringing back Keanu Reeves for a cameo, but offered little to distinguish Rooney's journey from Wick's beyond her ballet background.
You should think of fire.
With a production budget around $90 million, Ballerina opened well below projections, earning about $25 million domestically in its first weekend. The final worldwide tally of roughly $132 million put it below break-even after marketing costs. Rotten Tomatoes critics scored it in the mid-70s, while verified audiences rated it over 90%, showing that those who saw it generally approved. De Armas avoided controversy and promotion, but the film's muted turnout frustrated supporters of female-led action. Many felt Ballerina delivered solid thrills, yet failed to make a compelling case for itself beyond being John Wick with a woman. Rebel Wilson, Bridehard. June 20th, 2025, Rebel Wilson hit theaters as Sam, a maid of honor who must turn into a super spy to save the wedding when our mercenaries crash the party.
What? I thought secret agents knew how to drive everything.
Not female secret agents?
What?
I'm just kidding.
Marketed as a mashup of Bridesmaids and Die Hard, critics said it failed to deliver on either front. The Guardian called it a disastrous and unfunny attempt at an action comedy, noting the screenplay combines crude humor with childlike action and lacks chemistry among even the talented cast. Ty Burr at the Washington Post described it as cringingly stupid, with implausible plot lines and vulgar gags that fell flat. Wilson brought energy to the role, training for 5 weeks and performing many of her own stunts, though she admitted she refused a dangerous Kate jump stunt that would have terrified her. Unfortunately, the commitment didn't translate to results.
As a friend, I did kill a bunch of dudes for you.
With a budget estimated between $20 to $30 million, Bridehard grossed less than $1 million domestically and just over $1.5 million worldwide, one of 2025's most visible box office disasters. Rotten Tomatoes reflected the reception, roughly 15% from critics and a mid-50s audience score. Despite the buzz around Wilson's return to broad comedy, even her fans agreed it was more slogan than sparkle, a premise that never caught on, and a laugh-starved wedding fiasco. Time's up. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video from my fun, lighthearted channel, Hollywood Body Count, I'd love a cheeky like, subscribe, and comment. No pressure, no sweat, your call.